You've undoubtedly heard of the law of attraction, and I'm assuming you've heard of the law of assumption. Both are powerful laws in order to rewrite your reality, but they're not exactly the same. Have you ever wondered what the difference is between these two laws and what is better for you for quantum jumping? I'm going to break it down. I actually use both of these laws in order to quantum jump, but you might be drawn to more one than the other. What is quantum jumping? Quantum jumping is when you align yourself vibrationally with a parallel universe where you are living out a desired reality. I always say you don't need to manifest anything. What you need to do is align your frequency with the reality where it already exists. Because what you want already exists on a parallel reality, and there's a version of you already living it. If you're new here, I'm Alyssa, and I remind you that this timeline is optional. Before we get into the two, I need to explain to you when I say law, I mean these things always work, but here's where you might get confused. People think that the law of attraction or the law of assumption is not working because it doesn't happen instantly. Now, these are both laws, much like gravity, meaning they're always working. They're the way the universe works, they work. But the thing about reality is reality has a lag time. So oftentimes, if you think the law of attraction or the law of assumption isn't working for you, it's because you haven't worked on it long enough for your vibration to reach a tipping point, which is what happens right before you quantum leap into a new reality. When you're practicing either of these two laws, you have to maintain your frequency with the vibration of the reality you're living on. You have to hold a stronger belief more than you hold a doubt of your ability to jump to that reality where you want exists. You have to hold the identity of the version of you that lives in that reality long enough for the law to work. But the laws are always working. The law of attraction, probably the more popular of the two, was made famous by the movie The Secret, which came out like 20 years ago. Also by teachers like Abraham Hicks. However, the law of attraction is very old. It goes back to, I think the first book written on it was called Thought Vibration. And basically, it states that what is like into itself is drawn. That what we think about, what we feel about, the emotions we're emitting on a consistent basis is what shows up in our reality. This is what people get wrong about the law of attraction. They think that when you're thinking about having what you want, it means it's going to come to you, and then they wonder why they're not living in their $1 million home with their soulmate. It's because when you are thinking about what you want, if you are thinking about it in a positive sense, if you're feeling like you already have it, if you're believing like that reality is a possibility for you, the law of attraction will work in your favor and you will attract what you want. However, if when you think about your desire, if when you think about that reality that you want to live in and you have negative thoughts, you're attracting more of what you think. For example, if you think that the law of attraction doesn't work, it doesn't work. I went through this a lot in my early 20s when I first started studying the law of attraction. I was so excited that I create my own reality, but I also had a lot of trauma and limiting beliefs that I did not know how to clear at the time. I wasn't even aware of what limiting beliefs were. And so I was attracting more of what I didn't have because I was more focused on, I'm reading all these books and nothing is happening. So why isn't anything happening? I was focused on things not happening. I'm happy to say once I did plant medicine, released a lot of my limiting beliefs, and I started to understand the law of attraction more. Now I understand when I'm thinking about a desire, how I'm feeling about it is how it's going to show up in my reality. If I'm feeling good about a desire, I am closer to that parallel reality. If I'm feeling not good about it, I'm living in the parallel reality where it does not exist. So basically, what you're thinking and feeling on a consistent basis is how your reality shows up. You might notice this that the people you are most around are on the vibrational frequency that you're around. If you ever went through a period in your life, and I went through this, where you're complaining a lot, you probably have a lot of friends that complain. If you have had a period in your life, and I had this where you struggled with money, you're hanging around other people that struggle with money. That's a vibrational frequency that you're living at. There's nothing wrong with it. You're just tuned to that radio station, you're tuned to that reality. And if you want to tune yourself to a different reality, you have to start vibrating different. You have to have different beliefs about what's possible for you. You have to have a different vibrational frequency. You have to stay consistent about feeling good about what you want instead of noticing that it's not here. Now, the law of assumption was made famous by Neville. I think he was born in like 1902 and died in 1970 something. I think he coined it, the term the law of assumption. The law of assumption is all about assuming that you already live in this reality. I love this because it's so close to how I describe quantum realities that you have to believe it before it shows up. And this is true for both of these laws. You have to be it, feel it, know it, and vibrate at it before your physical reality shows that back to you, because reality has a lag time. Reality is showing you your past thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Reality is old news. One thing that Neville talks about a lot is about ignoring reality, and it's really about believing that you are already in that reality that you want to be in. And I think the same is true for quantum physics. When I quantum jumped to my dream timeline, it was because I started to believe more in the reality I was having dreams about than the reality I was living in. I started to have more fun daydreaming about the reality I wanted to live in. And I would just play it in my mind. I listened to one particular song and felt what it felt like to live in that reality. And one thing I stopped doing was I stopped looking for reality to show me that it showed up. Because when you're looking for it, you are assuming that you don't yet live in that reality. The law of assumption is assuming that literally you are source energy and you are, and knowing that your imagination actually creates reality. And what you are focused on in your subconscious mind, your conscious mind, and your vibrational frequency is what's going to outpicture in your reality. What you assume to be true about reality and yourself is what's true. This is why I always say beliefs are so important in quantum leaping, because the version of you that lives on your dream timeline has different beliefs about reality and themselves than you do. They believe that what they want is possible. They believe that they get what they want. They believe that they make a lot of money. They believe that they're lovable. They might also have different beliefs about reality, meaning they might have believed that they could shift reality. Because when you quantum jump to a timeline, you don't just wake up in the new house with a new guy or girl or person. You have to still go through a series of, in the law of assumption, Neville calls it the bridge of incidents. I describe it as you have to walk out your life in a linear fashion, meaning when you quantum jump and you do the vibrational work to actually get to a new timeline, reality has a lag time. So you're, in a sense, in the vibrational reality before life reflects that back to you. You've merged with the version of you that lives on the timeline that has what you want. But your life is going to unfold in a series of events. Now, it's going to happen a lot faster than if you physically got to that reality. And I would even argue to say that you probably can't, by taking physical action, get to your dream reality because your vibrational frequencies are different. Even if you did, let's say, come into a lot of money or work really hard and make a lot of money, if you don't have the identity of the person that's wealthy, you're not going to hold on to it. So the way to get to a higher frequency reality is actually by quantum jumping, and then your life unfolds in a linear fashion, but it happens so fast that you're like, whoa, I jumped. This couldn't have possibly happened this quickly unless I did the vibrational work to get there. Okay, so your life is going to unfold in a linear fashion, and you have already merged with the version of you that already made certain decisions, that already had a certain frequency, that already ended up on that timeline, and you're going to just go through some of these things, which is why you get a lot of deja vu when you're quantum jumping, because you're having memories of what that version of you already went through. All time is happening now, so the version of you that lives in your dream timeline already went through all these things, and when you quantum jump and collapse timelines, you have like the echoes of their memories. So you might go through some things that they went through, but you might not go through all the things they went through because you got there really fast. So the key to the law of assumption is just assuming that you are where you want to be. Now, Neville tells this great story that his teacher Abdullah told him. And I was like reading this book last night and it actually made me laugh. I don't know why I thought it was so funny, but he wanted to go to Barbados and he had no money. It was like the Depression. Neville was like a dancer with no work because the depression was going on. There was no work for him. He had this friend named Abdullah who taught him so much. And he said, I want to go to Barbados. And his friend would say stuff to him like, you are in Barbados. And Neville was like, what is this guy talking about? He literally said when he brought up to his friend Abdullah that he wanted to go to Barbados, Abdullah would say, you are in Barbados, and close the door on him and like did not want to discuss it further. What this has to do with the law of assumption is when you decide that you are living on that parallel timeline before life reflects that back to you, you stop talking like you're not. You stop looking for it because you are where you want to be. Neville ended up going to Barbados in a bridge of incidents. He manifested the quantum timeline that he wanted to be on and had a fabulous time. But the point is, every time he said, I want to go to Barbados, his friend was like, you're in Barbados, slammed the door on him and wouldn't talk about it anymore. Because think about this. If he was in Barbados, they wouldn't be talking about how he was going to get to Barbados. If you want to be on the timeline where you're with your soulmate, stop telling your friends you want to manifest your soulmate. You're with your soulmate now. If you were with your soulmate, I'm with mine. I don't go around saying I want to be with my soulmate because I'm already with him. He's not home right now, but we're still together. Meaning you start to pretend in a sense that what you want already exists, and it does exist in a parallel reality, so it's not really like you're pretending. but you start acting like that version of you. For example, if you want to get married and you're a woman, you might imagine before you go to bed what it feels like to have that ring on your finger, the heaviness of it. You might imagine showing it to your friends. You might just even start wearing a ring. I mean, that's not the weirdest thing. And you stop talking about it like you don't have it anymore, because if you had it, you wouldn't talk about it anymore. You're no longer looking for a reality to reflect that back to you. That is the law of assumption. Now, how I use both of these laws is I like to use the law of attraction to raise my vibrational frequency, and I like to use it to notice what I'm focused on. Because quantum jumping to a reality that is more desirable than the one you're on now is at a higher frequency, because it's more desirable, it's higher emotions, better stuff's going on over there. So, when you're wanting to get to that reality, that version of you has a higher vibrational frequency. They're able to hold a higher frequency. So I use the law of attraction to become aware of what I'm focused on. Looking around my life, what am I attracting? If I'm around people that are complaining a lot, I might be like, okay, I'm obviously in a lower vibration. I'm obviously in a complaining vibration. If things like keep happening that are not what you want, notice what you're focused on. And also start to notice what you tell yourself about things happening in your reality. When things happen that you don't prefer, begin to tell yourself that everything is always working out for you, and shift the focus. Instead of focusing on how things are going wrong, you're just going to make more things go wrong. Start to focus on what's going right. Abraham Hicks has this amazing process called positive aspects, where literally you take out your notebook and you write like positive aspects about my dog, which is like the easiest thing. I mean, I could write millions of things about how great my dog is. What you focus on expands, and this is a truth in quantum physics. What we focus on in quantum parallel realities is what outpictures in our reality. There are all these possibilities going on right now, but what you're focusing on is what you're literally creating. There's a parallel timeline where your day went good and one where it went bad. If you start the morning with meditation and positive aspects about things that are already in your life that are going good, you start to tune to positive things in your universe. It's the same thing as if you're always looking for angel numbers, and I am, you always see them. Is that because there's more of them, or that's because that's what you're focused on? And it's great to see an angel number and think this means I'm in alignment, but it also means this is what I'm focused on. So focus on things going good in your life. And then take it a step further. Make positive aspects about the things that you don't like so much, but find the positive aspects in them. For example, if you want to quantum jump to the timeline where you're living your dream job, focus on what you can that's positive in your job now. Find as much positivity as you can. Find the brighter side of everything. And when you start doing that, your world shifts. I made a video about a month ago about doing a law of attraction experiment for 90 days, and all these amazing things came into my life. I had my dream wedding. I manifested $3,000 by just saying I wanted a check in the mail that day. Manifested my second dream job, dream dog, like 4 days after our wedding. We weren't even going to get him then. Manifested people writing commercials for me. A lot of amazing things happened because I was spending every morning focusing on positive aspects. So that's what I use for quantum jumping, but I also use the law of assumption. Like I said, when I did my biggest quantum leap, I was assuming that I was with my soulmate in my dream home. And even though I thought I knew who it was and I was right, when it looked like it wasn't happening, I knew that whether it was him or someone else, I was already with my soulmate. I was on my soulmate timeline. I was done with bad relationships I'd had. I was done being lonely. I was done living in this shitty apartment in the valley. I was already living in my dream home before I was. I was assuming that I was that version of me because I knew that version of me existed. And how I got there was just by assuming I was her. And I stopped looking for reality to reflect back to me what I was looking for. Because it's not, if you're looking for it to reflect back to you, it's just going to keep reflecting back that it's not showing up. So, raise your vibrational frequency, focus on positive things, pay attention to who is in your space. That'll tell you what your vibrational set point is. My favorite thing is if you Google, I have it on my wall right here, that's what I'm pointing at. If you Google Abraham Hicks emotional scale, it tells you emotions, and look at where you're at on a consistent basis. Look at what word are you normally frustrated? Are you normally happy? Are you normally in guilt? Are you normally in fear? And wherever you are, it's okay. You can incrementally raise yourself up this scale so that you're at the higher vibrational scale most of the time. And that's when your reality really shifts. And also, whatever it is that you want, you are there. You are in Barbados. You want to go to, you don't want, let's say you want to go to Barbados, you're in Barbados. Before you go to bed, imagine what it would be like if you were falling asleep in Barbados. I'm just using that example because that's what Neville used. And stop talking about how you want it, because if you had it, you wouldn't be talking about it. Play in your mind and use your imagination, which is one of the main tools of the law of assumption, to imagine what it would be like if you were there. What would it feel like? And if it doesn't feel good, this is where you use the law of attraction and ask yourself what beliefs you have about that make it not feel good. Like if you think about having a lot of money and you don't feel good, you have to start to uncover what your beliefs are about money. If you had a lot of money, what that would mean. You're going to have to give it away, you're going to lose it, people are going to hate you, and do belief work to shift that so that when you use your imagination to think about what you want, it feels good. And assume that you are in that reality. Reality is literally a belief. And over time, it will reflect back to you what you believe. But you have to sustain the vibrational frequency long enough until it reaches a tipping point when reality flips and it shows you your assumptions. It shows you what you've been attracting. Reality will flip, but remember, it doesn't happen instantly. Reality has a lag time. What you're seeing in your life today is yesterday's news. So focus on what you want and the good things about what you want, and assume that you're already in Barbados. Know that both of these are extremely powerful laws, and if you're drawn to one more than the other, use that law because it is a law. It always works. It just does not work instantly. So if you're really into law of attraction, I Abraham Hicks is amazing. Listening to them, reading their books, doing their processes can completely change your life. If you are into imagining and you like the idea of like clothing yourself in the character of the version of you that lives on that timeline, Neville is an amazing teacher. He talks about how to use your imagination, especially before you go to bed, because that's when your subconscious mind is most primed and you can easily like reprogram yourself about how to imagine that you are in Barbados, that you are where you want to be. Close the door on saying I want it and decide that you're already there. And before you know it, if you hold the vibration long enough, reality will reflect that back to you. Remember, if there is something that you desire in this reality, it's because it's an echo from a parallel timeline where a version of you is already living it. And that echo, that vibration, that desire is saying, you can have this too. Use these laws to completely rewrite your reality. And always remember that this timeline is optional. Much love.